All right, let's dive right into this explainer. We're unpacking how the massive global push toward net zero emissions is just completely rewriting the rulebook for mechanical engineering. If you thought engineering was just about making things move or bear weight, well, buckle up because the entire paradigm has shifted. The crucial takeaway here is that minimizing environmental impact, it's not just a niche thing for a handful of green companies anymore. We're talking about tackling resource consumption, emissions, and waste across a product's entire life cycle. This is a hard, baseline constraint that barely existed a generation ago, and now it's literally driving all major innovation. To see how this works, we're going to follow a product's journey from cradle to cradle. We'll quickly hit the new design baseline, life cycle assessments, rethinking materials, maximizing energy efficiency, the circular economy, and finally, the future of engineering. Starting off with Section 1, the new design baseline and the foundational rules. So, what's actually causing this sudden industry-wide pivot? It's definitely not just goodwill. Regulatory pressures are mounting fast. We're seeing strict emissions limits and really tough waste management requirements sweeping across all sorts of industries. This global push for net zero is basically acting as a forcing function. It's demanding rapid, undeniable innovation across practically every engineering discipline. You literally can't design a product today without answering to these pressures. Moving to Section 2, Life Cycle Assessment, or the end-to-end audit. Now, what's really interesting is how engineers actually measure these new baseline constraints. They use something called a life cycle assessment, or LCA. We aren't just looking at the factory floor anymore. The audit starts at Step 1, the absolute beginning, when raw materials are pulled from the earth. Then Step 2, the energy used to actually manufacture the part. Step 3 looks at the emissions generated while the product is running. And finally, Step 4, what happens at final disposal. It's a massive, comprehensive, end-to-end audit. All right, Section 3, rethinking materials and manufacturing, which is really the birth of a product. With our assessment framework in place, let's see how material selection changes the game. Honestly, this is one of the most powerful levers engineers have right now. You swap a material, you drastically change the environmental footprint. We're seeing amazing modern choices take center stage. Think about biodegradable composites stepping in for traditional plastics, or the massive surge in recycled metals. Plus, with additive manufacturing, engineers can now print incredibly complex parts using directly recycled feedstocks, which completely bypasses the old, wasteful milling processes. But hey, it's not just what you use, it's how you put it together. Think about the old approach. Components were permanently bonded or welded together, right? Well, that essentially locked those materials out of the recycling process forever. The new sustainable approach? Designing for disassembly. By designing things so they can be easily taken apart later, engineers ensure that repair, reuse, and recycling are baked right into the product's DNA from day one. That brings us to Section 4, maximizing energy efficiency, focusing on the product's operating life. Once a product is built, the focus shifts heavily to the energy it eats up while operating. HVAC systems are a perfect example here. Heating and cooling actually account for a massive chunk of global building energy use, so engineers are aggressively targeting these power drains, replacing outdated furnaces and AC units with highly efficient advanced heat pump technology. Then we have this concept, called lightweighting. It's exactly what it sounds like, reducing a product's weight through better materials and smarter structural design. For anything that moves, cars, planes, trains, lightweighting is absolutely critical. A lighter vehicle requires way less energy to accelerate. And sure, that might seem small on a quick trip to the grocery store, but that energy savings compounds astronomically over millions of miles driven globally. To put that into perspective, look at the electric vehicle market. Lightweighting is an absolute obsession for EV engineers right now. Since an EV has a fixed battery capacity, every single pound you shave off the car's structure directly extends its usable driving range. It's the most direct, obvious translation of mechanical design into consumer value and environmental savings. But energy efficiency also means generating power cleanly to begin with. And what's fascinating is that renewable energy systems, like wind and solar, rely heavily on sustainable mechanical engineering themselves. We're talking structural design, drivetrains, thermal management. A great example is advanced composite wind turbine blades. Engineers are constantly tweaking these to maximize wind capture while actually using less material. It's a total double win for sustainability. So after extraction, careful manufacturing, and years of efficient operation, we eventually hit a wall. We have to ask, What happens at the end of a product's useful life? Where exactly does the machine go when it just stops working? This brings us to Section 5, the circular economy and rethinking end of life. This model is completely reshaping how engineers think about that final phase. Instead of heading straight to a landfill, products are now born with a circular destiny built directly into their blueprints. They're designed right from the start for reuse, remanufacturing, and recycling. It's a closed loop now, not a one-way street to the dump. A massive piece of this puzzle is remanufacturing. This is where you take worn components and meticulously restore them to like new condition. The beauty here is it uses significantly less energy and material than producing a brand new part from scratch. And listen, this isn't just some academic theory. It is already a highly successful, firmly established practice in major industries. Think aircraft engine overhauls or heavy construction equipment. They've been proving this works both financially and environmentally for years. And alongside solid materials, we have to talk about resources like water. Managing water in a closed, efficient loop is becoming absolutely vital. For mechanical systems in water-scarce regions or industries with water-intensive processes, water efficiency isn't an afterthought anymore. It's a critical requirement for survival. Every single drop needs to be accounted for and ideally reused. Finally, Section 6, the future of engineering and the modern toolkit. So, what does it take to actually be a successful mechanical engineer in this new era? Well, the toolkit has expanded. To succeed today, you've got to blend traditional math and physics skills with a deep working fluency in these new environmental metrics. You need to know life cycle assessment inside and out, have deep expertise in sustainable materials, and totally master circular design principles. That's the new resume of a top-tier engineer. And for the businesses employing these engineers, the writing is on the wall. Companies investing early in sustainable design, digital skills, and modern infrastructure are setting themselves up for highly profitable growth. It turns out that designing for disassembly, lightweighting, and using recycled inputs isn't just about saving the planet. It's a proven, strategic roadmap for long-term business profitability. Efficiency saves money, plain and simple. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this powerful thought from the source material. Environmental performance and economic performance are increasingly the same goal. They are no longer at odds. So here's my question for you. How will you adapt your own skills and strategies now that doing the right thing for the Earth is exactly the same as doing the right thing for your bottom line?